The first half of the regular season is now in the rearview mirror here in Season 3 of the San Francisco Giants franchise here on MLB The Show 24. As we enter the month of July, we're getting close to the All-Star break, the draft, the trade deadline, and thus our push for the postseason. We've got 3 series until the All-Star break and the draft, including a pivotal one against the Atlanta Braves. Currently, we're 4.5 games in first place ahead of the struggling Dodgers, our biggest lead on the division all season. We've been behind the Dodgers for most of the year. We're currently tied with Atlanta and a game behind the Cubs. So if we are able to hold on to this division lead, seeding is going to be really important, and this upcoming series against Atlanta could prove to be a big one. I think the team is in a pretty good spot right now. We've gone into detail how special this starting rotation has been. And even though the offense and the bullpen have been a little bit inconsistent, we've still found ways to win plenty of games this year at 55-32. We're also going to take another look at the draft class. Last episode, we talked about some of the pitching prospects. Today, we're going to go over some of the notable position players. And then, of course, next episode is the MLB draft itself. We are going to be making a pretty noteworthy change to the lineup, and that's that Tommy Rogers, for now, will be the regular 9-hitter. He just doesn't walk and get on base enough for me to rationalize having him towards the top, but I still want him hitting ahead of guys like Jun-Hoo Lee and J.P. Crawford because he is obviously a weapon on base, and if we can have our best hitters up when he's on, I think we can maximize Rogers' value as a base runner. We're going to simulate up to this series against Atlanta. We've got 3 at home against the Guardians, who have been really disappointing this year but are still talented, and then 4 on the road against a good Cardinals team fighting for a wild card spot. After splitting the first 2 games, we hop into the third and final matchup of this series, where Tommy Rogers has a chance to etch his name in history. Only 18 times has a player hit 4 home runs in a game in Major League history. This is more rare than a perfect game. Yet Tommy Rogers, at 18 years old, as a rookie, has an opportunity to hit his 4th home run of the ball game. We'll see if he can do it with 2 on and 2 away here in the bottom of the 8th. And a chance at history, and it won't happen. It's a grounder to third. Jose Ramirez makes the play. Still, what a performance for the rookie Tommy Rogers. 3 for 5, 3 home runs, drove in 7 in a 13-9 win for the San Francisco Giants, who take the last 2 of 3 against Cleveland. Obviously, Tommy Rogers stole the show, but he was not the only noteworthy performer. Murakami had 3 hits. He homered. Sable, Crawford, and Lee also go deep. We had a rough start from Robbie Ray, but the bullpen did their thing. Cleveland had 9 runs, but off of just 6 hits. Tristan McKenzie had a really rough start, and then Kerry Wallace, the former number 1 pick, really struggled. That brings us into this series against St. Louis. We're down by 2 in the top of the 9th, but the bases are loaded, and J.P. Crawford is coming up as a pinch hitter. We had the option of him or Munetaka Murakami, but I'd rather wait for the next at-bat if we stay in the game for Murakami. Crawford lines this one to left. It is caught by Jordan Walker. Shocker, shocker, the Giants leave them loaded, and the Cardinals take the first of 4 here in St. Louis. Tommy Rogers homered again, by the way, as did Heliot Ramos. Logan Webb had a pretty lackluster start, easily one of his worst of the year. Let's go into this next game here. We're trailing once again, 3-2, but we've also got some base runners and a chance to do some damage. Jonathan India has already homered in this game with the tying run at second. Lines this one into center. That one is going to drop. Ultimately, we're not going to have the runner advance from third. That's Cedric Mullins. And here we go again. The bases are loaded. Oh boy, this surely will end well. Blake Sabol is up. He's working a long at bat. This is pitch number 9. And he crushes it into left. If it's fair, it's gone, and it is just foul. Unfortunate. Nonetheless, we wanted to bring Sable up here off the bench. Mr. 99 clutch rating. 10th pitch of the at-bat he takes for ball 4. I know he wanted to swing the bat there, but he has to lay off. Run scores. Game is tied at 3. Yennier Cano will be replaced by the lefty Andrew Vasquez. So a real opportunity here for San Francisco to do some damage. Now with a tie game, still 1 away. Murakami is 0 for 4, and he pops this one up. First pitch of the at-bat into foul territory. Just a completely weak at-bat. Got nothing going there. as it is caught by Nolan Arenado for the second out of the inning. And guess who's up? It's Tommy Rogers, who's been on a heater over the last couple of games. Bases loaded, 2 away from the rookie, singles into left. 1 run scores, second looks to join, play at the plate is in time. Nonetheless, the Giants take the lead with an RBI single from Tommy Rogers. Can the Cardinals do some damage in the bottom of the 9th? Well, maybe. Brendan Donovan doubles. 2 away, tying run at second, winning run at the plate, and Nolan Gorman is the guy who you want up here. High clutch rating, big-time power bat. He's ahead in the count, 3-1, and he goes down as he tips the cutter. Count is full. Duvall's had some nice pitches with the cutter in this at-bat, so he's going to look to go back to it here at the full count, and it's low and outside for ball 4. Winning run is now on base for the Cardinals, and it's Big Meat Pete Alonso. We know his power is dangerous. 3 for 12 with a homer in the series. The 1-2. Swinging a miss on the slider. And the Giants win this game with a come-from-behind victory in the 9th inning, featuring the game-winning single from none other than Tommy Rogers, who's gotten off to an unbelievable start in today's episode. I guess he's finding a home at the number 9 spot, although he hit at like the 6th spot today. So what can you do, I guess? Mason Miller had a pretty good start. Bullpen shut the door. And we've got another close game here in the final matchup of the series. 5-4, bottom 9, 2 away. Genesis Cabrera comes out of the bullpen against the talented outfielder Victor Scott. Flies it into the infield. It's caught by Peguero, and the Giants end up taking 3 of 4 on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals with a close victory here, 4-3. Camilo Duvall nearly blew it. He allowed a couple of runs. We had to pivot and bring Genesis Cabrera in, but ultimately he's able to finish off the job. We had a few guys perform well on offense. Crawford went deep. Kyle Harrison had a strong start, 6 innings, 2 earned, striking out 10. His final start before the All-Star break and his final opportunity to prove why he deserved to make the All-Star game. Nonetheless, I feel pretty good about our first 2 series of the day. We went 5-2. We've made even more ground on the Dodgers and are now ahead by 6 games. So much so that the Padres have almost caught up to LA. San Diego recently acquired Tommy Edman from the Angels, another shortstop who's not going to play shortstop for them, continuing their consistency in terms of roster building. So that brings us into this huge series against Atlanta. We still have the same record as them. We're still a game behind the Cubs. That has not changed over the last week. We're going to simulate this first game. But before that, we get a trade offer from the Dodgers. I'm fascinated to see this. Noah Miller, a young shortstop, for Heliot Ramos. I think I'm going to say no. Ramos has been one of our better offensive players this year. I'm good. We've got a pitcher's duel here in Game 1 against Atlanta. 2-0 lead going into the bottom of the 8th. Robbie Ray has pitched a shutout. He's only allowed 1 hit so far, but Zach McKinstry should change that here. Singles into center. Adam Duvall will score. The shutout is no more, and thus Robbie Ray's night is over as well. Still a brilliant start, though, for Ray, who technically is the number 5 starter in our rotation, but for most teams, given his production this year, he's pitched like a number 2. He'll be replaced by Genesis Cabrera. Hopefully the bullpen can shut the door. This is obviously a very talented Atlanta offense, and they would. We win this game 2-1. We have now won 4 in a row, 6 of our last 7. The team is performing really well with just a couple more games until the All-Star break. Tommy Rogers homers again. He's gone deep 5 times in this week and is up to 11 here in just over a month at the big league level. Even though he's had trouble getting on base and hitting for contact, the power is certainly there. That brings us into the second game of the series. Logan Webb on the mound against Dylan Cease. I do want to point out that it's also the Futures game in which Scott Rios will be getting the start for the National League. With Tommy Rogers having graduated as a prospect, Rios is back at the number 1 spot in baseball. We also had catcher Vicente Alegre in the lineup as well. He's been a little inconsistent this year, but has had a really good month of June, helped building back his status as one of the better hitting prospects in the system. So that brings us to the second game here against the Atlanta Braves. We're now 61-34, one of the best records in all of Major League Baseball. If we win one of these last 2 games against Atlanta, we will be at worst the number 2 seed going into the All-Star break. I'm amazed by how good this team has continued to play this year we have gotten better as the season has gone along. I feel like there's been more consistency. Hopefully that stays the case today. Both of these two pitchers are currently not slated to make the All-Star game, but they both have a chance. We'll start with Dylan Cease. He is currently 8th in terms of All-Star voting among starting pitchers in the National League. This is his final opportunity to prove why he deserves to make the All-Star game in his first year with Atlanta. Murakami with 2 away flies this one high and kind of deep into center, but it is caught by Michael Harris. Quick 1-2-3 inning for Cease. We go to the bottom of the first, take a look at Logan Webb, who for most of the year was a shoo-in to make the All-Star game, but he's kind of struggled over his last couple of starts. He has dropped to 11th place in terms of NL voting. He wants to get into the top 5 in order to make it. Keep in mind, Kyle Harrison is currently slated in 5th place as he strikes out Michael Harris on the low fastball. The former National League MVP Ronald Acuna Jr. is up with 2 away. It's a weak dribbler down the line. Webb fields it cleanly, can't tag Acuna, but sends it over to first for the final out of the inning. Both pitchers retire the side with ease as we move into the second. Jorge Soler draws a walk. This time last year, Soler won the Home Run Derby in this building, and of course is a Braves legend, 2021 World Series MVP with Atlanta. Blake Sabol goes down on the fastball right down the middle. Looks like he timed that one up late. Nice pitch from Cease. Jonathan India is now up. He's had a really good last month or so, hitting for more power while the average has climbed up to 300. But he goes down on the inside fastball. Bottom 2, here's Austin Riley. Tough pitch to hit, and he still gets a piece of it in the right. Jung-Hoo Lee misplays it, still getting used to his new position with Tommy Rogers obviously in center. And that goes for a double, the first base hit of the game for either team. 2 away now for the catcher, Sean Murphy. Got him looking on the changeup. Through 2, no score. Both pitchers looking really strong thus far as we move into the third. Luis Toribio getting the start at first base today for San Francisco. He's been pretty solid since being called up, hitting right at 250, and he draws a walk. Good start, early base runner. That'll bring up Tommy Rogers, the 3-2, and he draws a walk. I love seeing Tommy work the count. His biggest issue has been drawing walks. Jung-Hoo Lee crushes this ball into center. No doubt about that one. It is long gone. First hit of the game for the Giants is a 3-run shot for Jung-Hoo Lee. And it's 3-0 San Francisco. 448 feet, his 15th of the year. Jung-Hoo Lee only homered 29 times in each of his first 2 seasons. This year, he is 15 before the All-Star break. The power with him continues to get better and better. He is a full 5-tool player at this point. J.P. Crawford checks his swing. Umpire says he went around for the first out of the inning. 2 away now. That'll bring up Jorge Soler. Walked in his first out of the game as he gets a hold of this one and launches it into right center field. And the former Brave puts the Giants ahead 4-0 here in Atlanta. San Francisco only has 2 hits in this game. Both of them are long home runs, 422 feet, number 21 on the year for Soler. Bottom 3, Adam Duvall goes down looking. I don't know what he was waiting for. That pitch was right down the middle. Jonathan Aranda sends this one into the right center gap. It will one hop off the wall, and he makes it into second with a 1-out double. So Aranda's in scoring position. Nice opportunity for the top of the order to do some damage, and it looks like they will. Michael Harris singles into center. Run should score. And with that, Atlanta is on the board here in the bottom of the third. It's now 4-1. So the Braves get one back. They're looking for more as Jared Kelenic puts it on the ground. Crawford makes the play. India to Toribio. 6-4-3 inning-ending double play. Big inning for the Giants. They get 4. Atlanta responds with 1 of their own, but it's still a 3-run deficit for the Braves as we move into the fourth. 2 away for Luis Toribio. Lines this one into the opposite field. What a catch! Jared Kelenic lays out for an incredible grab as we go into the bottom of the fourth. Ronald Acuna leads things off behind 1-2. Goes down on the fastball. Logan Webb has had him a really strong performance. Much better than his previous outing against St. Louis. Matt Olson fishing on the inside slider. That pitch was nowhere near the strike zone. He got completely fooled. Webb looks to strike out the side, and he will. Riley swings and misses at the high fastball. 4 innings of 1-run ball from Logan Webb, and that brings us into the fifth. J.P. Crawford goes down on the changeup. That pitch came in slowly. A lot of movement in there from Cease. Bottom 5, a swing and a drive from Ozzie Albies into center field. Rogers could only watch it fly, and the Braves make it 4-2. Ozzie Albies, the all-star second baseman, with his 20th home run of the year. And so the Braves are kind of back in and only down by 2. Aranda grounded to short. Crawford makes the play. That'll wrap up the 5th. 4-2 with the solo shot by Ozzie Albies, and that brings us into the 6th. Pitching change for Atlanta. The lefty Aaron Bummer comes into the game. 5 innings, 4 earned runs from Cease. He only let up 2 hits, though, as Munetaka Murakami draws a walk. That'll bring up Jorge Soler. He hits this one past the shortstop. That goes for a single. Soler has reached base successfully in all 3 plate appearances. 2 early base runners, nobody out. What an opportunity for Blake Sabol! Ignites this one into right. That one is long gone, and it is now 7-2. The Giants only have 4 hits today, but they've got 7 runs. Sabol, of course, is great with runners on base, but struggles to hit for power against lefties, but he just did there. Chris Sale comes out of the bullpen now for Atlanta. The reigning National League Cy Young has struggled with injuries. That's why he's coming out of the bullpen right now as he strikes out Luis Toribio, who goes down looking. The Giants get 3, though, and that brings us to the bottom of the 6th. 1-out single for Kelenic. That gives the Braves a runner now for the middle of the order. One of the most deadliest group of hitters in all of baseball, and that starts with probably the most deadly on this roster. Ronald Acuna draws a walk. Logan Webb has himself in a pickle, but the Giants are going to trust him to get out of it. 2 on, 2 away for Austin Riley. Dribbler to third. Murakami fields it cleanly. Throw to first is in time. Logan Webb gets out of it, and the Giants lead pretty comfortably 7-2. That'll bring us into the 7th inning now. Tommy Rogers up the 1-2. Goes down fishing on the circle change. What happened to the plate discipline from the first at-bat, Tommy? Leover Peguero comes in off the bench, flies this one into right. It is caught by Acuna. Let's go bottom 7. The Giants are going to keep Logan Webb in the game. They're looking for one more inning out of their Chad innings eater as Ozzie Albies starts things off with a walk. Adam Duvall, the 2-2, swinging a miss on the slider. A lot of punch-outs today from Logan Webb. We'll see if he can get one more against Jonathan Aranda. The 1-2, 2 away, swinging a miss on the inside slider. 7 innings, 2 earned for Logan Webb. Really strong start. Not sure if it'll be enough to get him in the All-Star game, but he had himself a really nice day, and that brings us into the 8th. Munetaka Murakami starts with a walk. The Giants haven't gotten a lot of hits today, but they have drawn plenty of walks. Soler puts it on the ground. This should be 2. 5-4-3 double play. Soler had reached base in every at-bat before that, but this time, not so much. That'll bring up Blake Sabol, who homered back in the 6th. Again, he doesn't do it that often against lefties. And he strikes out on the circle change. 3 scoreless innings from Chris Sale. Give him credit for keeping the score in range, I guess, for the Braves. Yariel Rodriguez comes out of the bullpen now for the Giants here in the bottom of the 8th. 2 away, nobody on. Ronald Acuna's up with a 2-2 count. Got him looking on the slider. San Francisco leads 7-2 as we go into the 9th. Jonathan India gets plunked. There's an early base runner to start things off. Tommy Rogers walked earlier today. Can he do it again? Yes, he does. Good to see Tommy Rogers with a multi-walk game. Probably the first of his career, if not one of. 2 on, 2 away for Jung-Hoo Lee. Grounds it to second. Nice play by Ozzie Albies. And it's a 5-run game going into the bottom of the 9th. Our bullpen this year has blown games with deficits bigger than 5 runs. Don't rule it out against a team like Atlanta. Olsen sends this one high and deep into center. At the track, at the wall, it's caught by Tommy Rogers for the first out of the inning. That ball was about 2 feet away from making it over. Giants got real lucky there. Austin Riley lines it into right. That goes for a base hit. The Braves trying to keep this one in arm's length. They've got to get a rally going. Wild pitch. Runner makes it to second. He is safe. It wouldn't really matter because Ozzie Albies would end up drawing a walk anyway. 2 on, 1 away. Sean Murphy singles into center. Rough inning for Rodriguez. He's allowed 3 base runners, 1 run. And the only out was 2 feet away from going over the fence. So because of that, he's going to be taken out of the game. Camilo Doval comes in to replace him. The deficit is at 4, but it is a save opportunity as he looks for number 25 on the year. 1.5 ERA, whip a little bit below 1. As he starts with Doval, he fishes the slider. Could not reel anything in with that bait. And now Doval looks to slam the door against Jonathan Aranda. 2 on, 2 away. The 2-2 swing and a miss on the sinker. The Giants take game 2 here in Atlanta, 7-3. It's a 5-game win streak for San Francisco, and worst case scenario, they'll enter the All-Star break as no lower than the number 2 seed. We got 4 base hits in this game. We did not hit the ball well at all, but 3 of those 4 hits were home runs, and we were clutch with runners on base. We got guys on base because of walks. 2 for Rogers, 2 for Murakami. Love seeing the plate discipline out of those guys. And again, of our 4 hits, 3 of them were 400-plus foot home runs. Jung-Hoo Lee and Blake Sabol each drove in 3, while Soler had a solo shot. Really good start for Logan Webb, 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 walks, 2 earned runs allowed. Dylan Cease gets the loss. He only let up 2 hits in 5 innings, but he also let up 4 runs. Overall, a really good day in the office for the boys. We win all 3 series. We're not going to go into that last game against Atlanta yet, and that's because we've got some draft stuff to cover, and that starts with the position players in this class. We've already gone over the pitchers in the last episode. I think, especially this year, there's so much more talent in terms of the pitching crop, which means if we find a position player we like early, that might be the route we have to go with, but obviously we still want to focus on value. I haven't really scouted a ton of the catchers. I really like where we are catching-wise in the organization, but Elmer Enriquez might be a guy we scout during this last stage. Really good contact hitter, really good plate skills. I think he is the type of prospect who we would look to add to the system, but we would need to use our first rounder on him. In terms of depth, I think Brandon Wood could be a name to watch, another contact guy. Probably going to go late 2nd, early 3rd round. Could be in line for our number 73 pick. At first base, the top projected player in this class is Emil Franco. Our scouts don't seem to agree with that, and they feel like he should go in the middle of the 1st round, which is where we are picking. Franco does have an exciting bat. This ball went 500 feet over the scoreboard. The raw power potential is certainly there. But our scouts don't seem to think he's as polished as the great first base prospect last year, Jeremy Franco, and there's no relation between the two, for what it's worth. I don't think it's an overly deep group at first as we move over to 2nd. Certainly not top-heavy, only 1 player projected to go in the top 75 picks. Our scouts seem to like Cecil Keith quite a bit. I think Aldo Guzman is pretty solid as well. Both could be strong mid-round options for us. I think there's more talent, though, at 3rd base, and especially shortstop. Cliff Iden is a guy who I think goes in the 1st round, a switch-hitting power bat. Our team doesn't need power guys, though. That's why I haven't really scouted him at all. He just doesn't fit what we're looking for. He's a really similar player, in my opinion, to Kyler Rodriguez, but a little bit less polished, so I feel like it's not really worth it. Shortstop, though, might be the deepest position in the draft, and we've got to start with Aaron Eldridge, who might be one of the first 2 or 3 players off the board. In terms of upside, other than maybe Tommy Rogers, I'm not sure if there's a high school player we've seen in this series with the upside of Aaron Eldridge, a switch-hitting shortstop who has the chance to be a 5-tool player, contact, power, speed, defense, arm. He's got it all. Jay Rubel's another guy to look out for. He played for the University of Maryland, who ended up winning the College World Series, and they've got a few projected really high picks. Rubel's an interesting profile. I think he's a well-rounded offensive player. Doesn't really have any major strengths, but he can do just about everything, and he's pretty consistent. Really fast, good arm strength, though, so he's super athletic, which leads me to believe there might be more with his power profile. In terms of depth, I like Rick Corson quite a bit. Manuel Samuel could be an interesting option in the 3rd round. And then later down the board, Jesus Ortiz looks like a gem, as does Francesco Gutierrez, who I think has the strongest arm of any position player in this class, and he's also a switch hitter. Let's move to the outfield, which is where I think a lot of the talent, especially towards the top of this class, is located. And that starts with Joe Murdoch, another player from the University of Maryland who won the College World Series. I believe that the Phillies will pick him number 1 overall. Given where the Phillies are right now, I think they're going to look for somebody who's a little bit more polished. And rather than the highly projected high schoolers, I think they're going to prefer somebody like Murdoch, who just won the College World Series MVP. He homered twice in the national championship game. Contact is inconsistent, defense is questionable, but he's a guy who can hit 35 home runs at the big league level right now. In terms of power, I can't remember the last time we've seen a prospect who is as dominant in that area as he is. Isley Chu is a really fascinating player because he looks super polished. The upside is a major question mark, but for a contending team like us, that could be an intriguing option at number 16 overall. In center field, Steve Rodriguez looks like one of the better high schoolers in this class, but he failed his physical. He was definitely a guy on our radar for the first round, and the fact that he did fail his physical is certainly a concern. Nonetheless, he's got an intriguing speed profile, good contact hitter. I think he might be more of a corner outfielder long term, but I still like him quite a bit. Rondell Willis is somebody who I think goes pretty early. Julio Vaccaro, I think, is one of the more polished players in this class. I also like Oscar Alonso quite a bit as we move over to right field. Juan Guzman is the highest projected player here. Kind of similarly to some of the other higher rated prospects who I didn't scout, Guzman is more of a power bat. And again, we don't really need guys like him. I think somebody like Johnny Hackman, who really gives you a little bit of everything, might be a better fit for a team like us, especially when you consider that Hackman might be the most pro-ready player in this class. Coming from the University of Michigan, I think Hackman's a guy who could be a starter for us right away. No need for minor league baseball with him. Now again, the ceiling is questionable, to put it nicely, but he checks off all the boxes. Contact, power, plate skills. He's a good enough defensive player. He's a guy who I think could slide into one of the outfield spots right away and be one of our more productive players next year. And for a team that's a championship contender, picking a guy like him over someone with higher potential might make more sense given our current timeline. In terms of depth options, I think Quinn Monk, a 19-year-old outfielder from the Dominican Republic, could be a name to watch possibly in the 4th or 5th round. And that does it here for this draft class. We've gone through the pitchers. We've gone through the position players. Who do you guys think we should look to draft down below in the comments with our first-round pick or our 2 seconds? Should we prioritize upside and potential still, trying to build a wagon of a farm system? Or do we pick a guy who's more polished, like Isley Chu or Johnny Hackman, because those guys, again, look like players who could be starters for us as soon as next year, and for a team contending for a World Series, somebody like that may be a little bit more valuable for the timeline. Of course, that will be the next episode, premiering sometime this weekend. I'll let you guys know pretty soon when that'll be on the YouTube community tab, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new as well. Peace out.